Well, I've served in this parliament over the terms of 4 Prime Ministers. Prime Minister Albanese has easily been the worst of them. He promised he would lead a more accountable government in the wake of Scott Morrison's secret ministries. The Labor government's conduct in parliament has been exactly the opposite of this principle. They have shut down debate on critical legislation, ramming through disastrous bills with the enthusiastic support of the Greens and Senator Pocock. Yesterday, they refused to support Senator Price's motion supporting Royal Commission in child sexual abuse in Indigenous communities, making the disgusting claim it was playing politics. The hypocrisy and callousness of the statement is breathtaking. The motion wasn't playing politics, but voting it down was. This is the Prime Minister who promised a $270 reduction in electricity bills, but they've gone up almost 50% under his government. Despite strong public support for my measures, Labor has refused to look into the Aboriginal industry corruption, children being treated for gender dysphoria, and
What's your take on this debate? Share your opinion in the comments below and join the conversation. Do you agree or disagree with the arguments made?
Indigenous identity fraud. My approach to these issues has always been in the interest of the Australian people. I am disgusted at the seat warmers in this chamber who tell me privately they agree with these initiatives and policies but refuse to support them in public. Lastly, this Prime Minister should, but will most definitely not, fall on his sword for imposing a racially divisive referendum on the Australian people and blowing more than $400 million on a lost cause. The PM can hold a royal a robo-debt Royal Commission, but no Royal Commission into sexual abuse of children. Australians are not fools, and that was evident last weekend, and they are fed up with the politics, false promises and the blatant deceit this government shows towards them. So Australians will have that say at the next election, and hopefully this government will be gone, thrown out on its ear.
What you've got here is a classic parliamentary closing statement style attack speech, and the way it's structured is designed to feel like a cumulative indictment rather than a normal policy disagreement. It doesn't move like a debate exchange. It moves like a political prosecution, where each sentence is meant to add another layer of pressure until the listener feels there is only one logical conclusion. The opening immediately sets the tone by establishing authority through experience, contrasting 4 prime ministers against the current leadership, and framing the prime minister as the weakest of them. That is a strategic credibility move. It's not arguing one failure, it's positioning the speaker as someone with historical comparison power. From there, the narrative shifts quickly into governance criticism, particularly around parliamentary conduct, claims about shutting down debate, rushing legislation, and relying on allied political support. This part is important because it reframes the issue from isolated policy disagreements into a broader accusation of democratic process manipulation. Once that foundation is set, the speech escalates into specific policy promises versus outcomes. The electricity price example is used as a direct credibility challenge, a promised reduction versus reported increase. This is a standard political contrast technique, promise versus reality. But here, it is used as a turning point to suggest systemic failure rather than a single broken commitment. Immediately after that, the argument widens again into highly sensitive policy areas, including social issues, institutional investigations, and identity-based concerns. This widening effect is deliberate. Instead of staying focused on one file, the speech expands the scope so the criticism feels comprehensive and multidimensional. A key emotional pivot appears when the speaker references internal disagreement within Parliament, claiming that some colleagues privately agree but publicly refuse to support certain measures. This introduces a theme of hypocrisy, which is one of the strongest emotional drivers in political commentary because it suggests hidden consensus suppressed by political pressure. At this stage, the speech is no longer just about policy. It becomes about integrity, trust, and authenticity. Then the rhetoric intensifies further with the referendum and financial spending argument. By introducing a large monetary figure and framing it as a lost cause, the speech adds a fiscal accountability layer on top of the moral and policy critique. This stacking effect is important. Economic waste, plus political division, plus policy disagreement, creates an overload of negative framing designed to push the audience toward conclusion rather than reflection. The contrast between different types of inquiries, some being supported and others allegedly ignored, is used to build a narrative of selective accountability. This is where the argument becomes more emotionally charged, because it implies unequal treatment of serious national issues. The phrase structure also shifts more toward absolutist language. Australians are not fools. Blatant deceit. Fed up with politics. These are not policy terms. They are mass sentiment statements, which are designed to merge the speaker's position with public frustration. Finally, the ending moves into electoral inevitability. This is a key storytelling technique. After building failure, hypocrisy, financial criticism, and institutional distrust, the conclusion is that change will come through voting. It closes the loop by transferring judgment from Parliament to the public, implying that political consequence is unavoidable and only delayed by time. Overall, the script is not structured as a debate response, but as a layered indictment. It starts with authority, builds through policy failure, expands into institutional criticism, escalates into emotional and ethical framing, and ends with electoral consequence. The main driver throughout is accumulation rather than rebuttal. Each section doesn't replace the previous one, it stacks on top of it, creating a sense of overwhelming critique designed for audience impact rather than neutral analysis.